Nigeria has to be one of the most naughty modern-day ironies, a country so rich yet poor, strong but weak, spreading without growing. It is a nation in motion yet with no movement, a country holding a whole lot of promise in 1960 but has turned 360 degrees from that promise 63 years after.
Fellow Nigerians, events of the past few years have indicated that despite our great human and material resources, the government has not been able to fulfill the legitimate expectations of our people.
Not a few blame the slow journey of the giant partly on the military intervention in the country's affairs with the promulgation of different decrees, including Decrees number 33 and 34 of May 24, 1966, abolishing federalism where the subnationals were strong, rich and competitive, and replacing it with a unitary system that completely eroded the powers of the federating units.
Take, for instance, the issue of fiscal federalism, which is at the core of federating systems or federating states, where revenue, the federating units are responsible for generating their revenues and possibly make contribution to the federal purse. But in Nigeria, it's not the case. If you want to look at practical issues as it relates to Nigerian federalism, you look at things like crude belong to the federal government, irrespective of where it is located. Elsewhere in the world, crude oil or any products under the soil, under the ground, would belong to the localities where they are found.
We believe that local government should have its own police structure. Likewise, the state government should have its own. And the federal government should border more on territorial protection of the country, while the internal security be given more to the local government and the state government. That is not to say that we should not have a federal policing structure.
The result is a system that can no longer guarantee social security for majority of the citizens, since the closest governance structures have become weakened and now only rely majorly on resources shared by the behemoth national governments.
And the challenge you have with allocation is that it kind of stifles enterprise, because once you have a system where people get rewards for or benefit for what they didn't work for, they tend to be indolent or they have no compelling need to strive to achieve results.
Gowon, in his own way, did the creation of 12 states out of the 4 regions. It's still part of restructuring. People were happy that more states came into being. After, he also did the universal free primary education, which is germane. It's only some states didn't take advantage of this opportunity. He also started the 50% derivation formula, which has now gradually been reduced to 13%. It was a good effort, but all the same, he failed to ensure that a coup didn't happen, and he was kicked out of office.
The country survived a civil war fought in relation to the controversy of power imbalance and witnessed many unrest as a result of agitations for resource control. The underdevelopment triggered by the uneven distribution of the country's wealth is glaring in every sphere of its economy, the most pronounced being the high rate of poverty and the choking insecurity across its length and breadth. Policing is only centrally controlled, making it difficult to check grassroots crimes snowballing into national crisis. Separatist agitations, narrowing of the political space and hijack of the state powers by a few cliques, leading to a dysfunctional state structure lacking the specific character like it is known to the rest of the proper federal states globally, are some of the other effects.
We are not honest to ourselves. If we were, we will look at working federalisms and see that there is something that is making those federalisms work. It's not those principles that we think are so good. What is making the American federalism work, or Canadian federalism, or Mexican federalism, or Argentinian federalism, any other federalism that is working? What makes it work is the spirit of that particular federalism.
The military left the scene 24 years ago, but the vestiges of its rules aren't totally gone. That include the country's constitution.
The 1999 Constitution is described as a military document not fit for proper democracy. Its introductory part that reads, "We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
Having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God, dedicated to the promotion of inter-African solidarity, world peace, international cooperation and understanding, and to provide for a constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of all persons in our country on the principles of freedom, equality and justice, and for the purpose of consolidating the unity of our people.
do hereby make and give to ourselves the following Constitution has been contested by many as inappropriate because the document in their thinking did not emerge through a people-oriented process. And that has been the basis for the clamor for a wholesale rework of the document.
We expected them, before they left office, to have done a constitution that will ensure that there is restructuring to the extent that states will have more powers than they are having now. That is, devolution of power could have been the main aspect of their job before leaving office, but they failed to achieve this.
Taking a look at some of the contentious issues in the rule book. With 370,000 personnel to police over 260 million population, the Nigeria police is overwhelmed and unable to protect the nation. The 1999 Constitution has been reviewed 5 times since it was enacted, but the clamor for its total review has refused to go away because the attempts have never really dealt with the core of the restructure needed to upgrade Nigeria's federalism. In the last attempt, in February 2022, a total of 68 bills seeking alteration to the different provisions of the 1999 Constitution was presented by the National Assembly on February 23, 2022. But the two chambers subsequently approved only 44 of the bills and transmitted same to the state parliaments for their resolution a month after, on March 27, 2022. 9 of the bills failed, including that on local government autonomy, while 35 scaled through. One of the items considered critically to improving security of the nation, state police, was not listed among those considered.
The North doesn't trust the South doesn't trust the North. So it's like a game of hide and seek.
In the past 8 years, we haven't seen any restructuring in terms of form, letters. But in terms of substance, we have seen a significant shift in the manner of our presidents, in the manner of our governors. But I can also, from my survey of things, it is obvious that what is happening at the presidential level is more or less a one-man show. It has been a one-man show. In other words, the president could have that structural spirit, but even among his ministers, that spirit has not come down, especially among the governors.
On 17 March 2023, over 1 year after the alteration bills were passed, President Muhammadu Buhari assented to 16 of the bills. Despite the fact that 35 bills were tabled before him, he left 19 unassented. Restructuring in Nigeria to reflect an upgraded, or what some refer to as a working federalism, is not for lack of ideas on what to do, many argue. There have been different national discussions, including the Pro-National Conference or Pro-NACO Conference held in 2005 in Lagos, with different nationalities and interest groups attending. The talk produced what the conveners led by late elder statesman Anthony Enahoro called a people's constitution that makes a good draft document on a number of contentious issues of governance in Nigeria. The 2014 National Conference by the Jonathan government is also regarded as a sincere talk shop that produced fine recommendations that could positively alter Nigeria's governance structure and address the vexed power imbalance.
I think that National Conference report is also a good report. I've not seen all the details, but if it was followed, it could have led to other developments which will have helped us to develop and then be patriotic.
Let's look at some other issues that have not been tackled, and let's test it, and see how it can solve our contemporary problems in Nigeria as the case is now. Because the PRONACO document was put together by all groupings, interest groupings in Nigeria, and it was chaired by one of the founding fathers of the Nigerian state.
The ruling All Progressives Congress appeared to realize the danger of the problematic pseudo-federalism in formulating its manifesto and made restructuring or devolution of powers through constitution amendment top of it in 2015 before gaining power. 2 years after, in August 2017, it set up a 23-man committee with Nasir El-Rufai, a then-sitting governor, chairing. By January 2018, after taking a critical look at 24 matters of national concern, the committee submitted its report with 12 recommendations to the party's national chairman, Odige Oyegun. The report was strong in its recommendations of a review of the constitution and relevant laws that guarantees more revenues to the states, transfer of some items on the exclusive list to the concurrent list, and the existence of a federal police alongside a state policing system. 5 years after, those recommendations are not implemented yet, except for the Alteration Acts number 15 and 16, transferring some of the items like railway, power, and prisons to the concurrent legislative list.
Today, gold and other precious metals are being mined in Zamfara. There's no reason why the Zamfara state government shouldn't be in charge of that. And then make sure that in terms of assignment of cadastral zones for mining is done by the state government, and then maybe 40% of whatever percentage of it goes to the federal government. There's no reason why oil being mined in Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Delta, Bayelsa should be collected at the federal level and allocations done to the state where they are being mined. So we need to go back and address the issue of extractive industry.
I doubt if any president will have the courage to do what agitators have been saying in the past in terms of devolving power, in terms of making appointment to be more of merit, rather than pandering to the pressure tactics of ethnicists.
While the politicians' foot drag, insecurity grows, poverty chokes, more of the land becomes devastated. Some of the states have had to set up alternative security outfits as the federal police demonstrate clear incapacity to tackle the challenge of insecurity. According to a report in The Guardian, As on December 11, 2023, not less than 23 states had set up one form of state security agency or the other. The list keeps growing, with Sokoto State setting up its own local security outfit a few days ago.
When we began the cap in hand approach, which we still call federalism, then the state government had no need to incentivize private sector investments because they are rest assured that at the end of every month they will get allocation for resources that they didn't sweat for. And countries, locations where those resources are being mined, we are not getting any major preferential treatment, which is also why we have gotten to this level of insecurity in the Niger Delta. An area that should have been one of the most developed parts of the world is now mired in the highest level of degradation in terms of environmental degradation.
Pages 68 to 69 of President Bola Tinubu's campaign manifesto, the Renewed Hope Agenda, promises to boldly address the issues at the core of the call for restructuring, devolve power to the units and put more resources in their hands to reduce congestion and competition for resources at the center. This, of course, will be done in collaboration with the National Assembly. Now that his government has fully taken off, Nigerians are reminding him of the electoral promise and the need to walk the talk at physical meetings.
Countries that practice democratized and proper devolution of power to the grassroots are the countries that are succeeding. An example is Rwanda, Morocco,
and even online submissions.
Constitutional amendment and requirement. We have to hang it on National Assembly. That they want to make changes. Mine is to work with them and listen. To the local government, FCDA and others, I've argued bottom up. So, Kolade, we are in it together. But we have to run an inclusive government.
Now, Mr. President, the word out there is that no president of Nigeria is bold enough to devolve power to the federating units, make them stronger, as well as initiate a reform that will truly reflect a properly working federalism. Will you, Mr. President, disappoint those holding such notion and make the difference? The next 12 months of the new year 2024 will indeed be crucial as Nigerians expect your promised collaboration with the National Assembly and state governments to, in your words, amend our national governance architecture such that states are afforded the autonomy and resources needed to better serve the people. Tokunbo Oyetunji, Arise News, Lagos.